The time is now 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome back to another episode of Gramps Live here on the Fishing with Gramps YouTube channels and wherever you might listen to podcasts if I remember to put this out on the podcast stuff. So we were going to have a different guest tonight, but that had to be rescheduled for another week. So tonight we're going to talk about why, not just me specifically, but why we fish kayak bass tournaments, even though you suck, you may never win. Well, I'll start out with this. We see the guys holding up the big trophies, or even the smaller trophies. You know, trophies of all kinds of sizes and shapes, from catch and everywhere else. Big blue trophies with the Bassmaster event, the big KBF National Championship trophies. You know, all the stuff that we see the big time folks doing and holding up the trophies. Well, I'm going to start out with this. Wayne Gretzky is often credited for saying you miss 100% of the shots you never take. But that's not actually what he said. What he said was because he was often criticized for not taking more shots in his playing days, being obviously the legend that he is, but he knew it was a team sport. So there was times obviously that he passed the puck to somebody else. And I'm talking about all this like I knew anything about hockey. Gran and my youngest are the hockey fans, but we all know who Wayne Gretzky is. And what Gretzky actually said was 100% of the shots you don't take don't go in. So if you ever had a dream of hoisting a trophy, if you never put yourself in a situation to be there to compete for the trophy, it'll never happen. Now, I can laugh and say, I've got a couple of Heroes on the Water trophies up there from a few years ago. The last actual bass tournament I won was a club classic, which sits right there. But, if you're never in a tournament, you can't win a trophy. But that's not why a lot of people fish. But for some people that are kind of competitive, it's a reason to fish. There's checks and all this and that and the notoriety and so forth and so on. But if you ever want something cool to put on your shelf behind you, even if it's just winning a Gramps knucklehead, trophy that we had made, that's why I made these. Because the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series is a series for beginners and those getting into the sport, as well as the seasoned veterans as well. But that's why I didn't just have it where, only the winner gets to go fish in the Hero Cup. I wanted to give people a reason to sign up and fish in the charity events, which is what these 4 1 month long tournaments are. Because we as the influencers, the YouTubers, this is also a way that we're fundraising money that we can then donate to our favorite charities and organizations. This year, as you guys already know, I'm donating my portion of it to the Blazer 88 Foundation, who was so kind earlier this year to donate towards a fishing kayak that I'm building for veterans to use when I go out and fish. And along with that goes, like, I'm working with Nick Finstad at Fish Texas Kayak Trailers to build me a tournament trailer, so to speak, much like he did Michael Iaconelli, so that I can have 2 complete, ready, and rigged kayaks for when I take veterans or other homeland heroes out, or a brand new kayak angler who wants to come and learn to fish out of a kayak and join us in what we do. But, so again, it's one of those things where I call myself a donor when it comes to big kayak tournaments, because Jeremy's always had the knack of understanding and figuring out the fish, um, during the tournament day. Some people just they have that gift, but that's why he was a guide on Lake Fork for a while. and I just like to fish. I've always just liked to fish. I love being in tournaments because, hey, why not? And we'll talk about more of the reasons why. But I know I donate to the cause, but I also know I'm donating to support the sport and the hobby that I love. So I jump in all, I jump in some local derbs, I jump in some national derbs, show up, and it's one of those things. But in my own way, I'm also supporting those people who are doing this, trying to make a living out of it by putting money in the pot because there was an interesting combination. If you're in the Freedom Squad fishing group on Facebook, we have a couple of different chats that are pretty much going all the time. If there's a tournament going on, we have a derb chat. You guys should go, get in there and talk to us during the day because a lot of us are keeping an eye on Major League Fishing or the Hobie BOS that was just going on. We're in there chatting up about whatever tournament's going on, whether it be boats or kayaks or whatever. But then we also have the squad chat, which is just a bunch of us who hop in. We're in the chat all day long talking about somebody's out, inevitably somebody's off work or out fishing or doing something all through the week, every day of the week. And the chat is just a continuous place where we gather together and chit chat through the day. That's not like in a regular Facebook post. It's an ongoing chat on Facebook. So find those two chats on the Fishing with Gramps, on the Freedom Squad Fishing Facebook page, and be sure to join us. But yeah, I had to come up with a quick topic for tonight for discussion because my guest couldn't join us. So I pushed that off until next week. Hopefully, I can get back a hold of him and get that up and going again because I really can't wait to talk to Tom and find out what's going on new with Lose and Strike King and stuff like that. Even though we're post ICAST, it's still cool to talk to Tom because he's a great friend of the channel and supporter of Fishing with Gramps and the Freedom Squad. But like I said, we'll get back to that too. But I wanted to come up with something kind of like off the cuff, and I was actually going to sit down at some point and make a video on this, just smoking a cigar and talking about why I do what I do. And mostly it's because I just love to bass fish. Um, I don't like getting up early. I don't like tournament rules. I don't like being bound by limited waters. But I know this, and that's why I go fish for fun 95% of the time. If I'm out, just filming and got the cameras running while I'm out fishing, or if I've got something to say or teach or share, I make a separate video for it. But I was going to make a video on this, but I thought might make a good discussion for a live stream and a podcast. And so that's kind of what I'm going to run through tonight. And I'm watching the chat for any questions or whatnot. If you're on Facebook, you have to give the permissions to the StreamYard thing so that it lets me see your name. If not, then I'll just know that it's just, somebody posting, but I'll answer any questions you have. But I mean, I wanted to come up with a topic that kind of relates to me. I go fish a tournament a few weeks ago on bogs. Well, it was one of the grubby events, and I fish bogs quite often. I'm getting better at it. I don't live over there like Jeremy does, and Jeremy has really put in the time, the work, and the effort, and that paid off with his first grubby win. Which, if you guys don't know, it's Grassroots Bass Yakin. They had an event there, and Jeremy actually won that because Jeremy puts in the time, the effort, and the work, and he's really learned that lake. He has spent months there ever since he's moved down there, getting to really know that lake. And I did catch a limit. I just couldn't find any bigger fish. But bottom line, I put up 5 dinks and had a good time. And we were fishing another tournament there this weekend for another club, SIAC. It's a KBF club here in Southern Indiana. It's a Southern Indiana Yak Anglers. And going to be some big hammers in that one. And Jeremy, once again, has been putting out the work. Me, I've been out trying to chase smallies because I want to learn how to, catch smallies. So I went up to the White River a couple weeks ago, absolutely slayed them. And that was like my practice before I went out to fish the Bassmaster event at the Susquehanna River. I got a video that's going to come out about that eventually. And we'll talk about, I'm not going to talk about the Susky experience. That's going to be a video in itself. Because there was a lot. I will say it was a blast, and I'm ready for revenge already. But I learned a lot. and that's, something else. So, let me roll down my list, and then we'll you'll see where I'm not trying to dodge the Susky. Everybody knows I finished 204th maybe out of 224. But in the video, we'll talk about the reasons, my health, my safety concerns, what I learned, and what I'll be ready and more able to do the next time I go back there. Because, people would say, "Oh, dude, you came in 204th out of 224. You suck." I had the best trip ever, but we'll talk about that. Um, or we'll talk about, in this topic, how that really carries through. But yeah, and Liz pops up a comment. No way I could manage the enormous amount of pressure I'd put on myself consistently fishing tournaments. No way. And I completely understand that. But if you don't care and you know you're making a donation, then you just go fish. Whatever happens, happens. And I tell a lot of people think I'm so nonchalant when I talk about stuff like that. And there is actually a reason why, because I get this. I work in a very stressful job, and people don't understand sometimes why I don't run around like a chicken with my head cut off, because we're under enormous amounts of pressure as well. Well, when you have your first heart attack, 97% blockage 2 weeks before your 35th birthday, and you have another one 4 years later with 98% blockages in both, your perspective on life kind of changes. And we touched on that a little bit last week when we had Toby on talking about his battle with cancer, his ongoing fights, and kind of the freedom that going through life altering events like that actually gives a person. So, in the end, nothing really matters except to getting out and having a good time. So, I don't have pressure when I fish tournaments because honestly, I don't care. Whatever the good Lord decides to bless me with that day is going to be what it is. If you followed me on Instagram this weekend, I was fishing a grubby event. Didn't catch a single good fish during the tournament. Well, I did one. I had one keeper. 30 minutes after I lined out, I catch a 17 and a quarter inch smallmouth bass. Anybody who fishes for smallies knows that's a pretty damn good fish. So, yeah, 12-hour float over 10 miles. Yeah. Like Liz says, nothing really matters to me. Do 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 do. But I mean, that's just the way I am. And I've talked to other people about, hey man, come fish a tournament with me or whatever. Oh, I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not ready. I know this much about tournament fishing. If you wait until you're ready, you won't go do it. So just go fish or don't. Some people don't like fishing tournaments. They don't want the stress, the pressure. Um, they don't want to do it. I get it. I was talking to Fishing the Lone Star on Monster Bass Live last week, and tournaments are not his thing. He'll do some charity events, but for him, it takes the joy out of fishing. And I 100% get that. 100% takes the joy out of fishing. And I agree with him 100%. You got to figure out what you're about. But that's cool. Me, I have more reasons why I like to fish tournaments and do these events, be it a local level, a national level, or even, yeah, Gramps can say he's a bass master now. I only put 3 fish on the board in 2 days, but guess what? I got 3 fish on the board more than a lot of other people who can't call themselves a bass master. So you do it for the stickers. A lot of people that still fight to earn one of these. It's little bucket list things. It's little victories along the way. But and for those of you listening to the podcast, I'm pointing to a Bassmaster Kayak Series sticker and then a KBF National Championship 100 sticker. And those who have them know, and those who are still working towards that goal of earning their first top 100 board and sticker from like the KBF National Championship, it's kind of cool. But let's move on a little bit about why I fish tournaments, even though I suck at fishing tournaments. I can catch fish. I've had good days and I've had days where nothing, nothing really came of it, but that's fishing, and that we all know the cliche. That's why it's called fishing and not catching. But for me, reasons why I fish. One of the reasons I like to go do this because it gives me a reason or an excuse to go fish new places. As you get older, you may have a bucket list. For me, I had always wanted to fish Lake Gunnersville. We hear about it a lot. And by qualifying and going down to the KBF National Championship for the second time, we went down to Kentucky Lake the first, and I'd been there the first, I'd been there before in my old bass club days, but I'd never been to Gunnersville. But when Gunnersville came up on the list as one of the national championships, I was talking to Jeremy Matt and I said, dude, that's Lake Gunnersville. That's legendary. How many YouTubers do we see fish down there like full time? Mikey Balls, fishing with Nordby, Chad and Gene are always there. You see these giants come out of there. It's just one of those world class fisheries that people and the sad thing is I'm not one for just taking vacations because I don't know why that is. I won't just go to go. I need to have a reason. And so if I sign up for a tournament, oh hey, gotta go. And so I'll make myself go do it. For whatever reason, I don't feel guilty for taking a vacation to go fish, that kind of thing. But that's another reason why I like to fish these tournaments because it in my mind, it gives me a reason to go somewhere and do something new. And we don't have to live our lives doing that. I keep saying someday I'm going to go up to Lake St. Clair. Someday I'm going to go, up to Minnesota and fish the lakes my wife's always talked about with the giant, smallies and walleye and muskie and pike, you know. And it's just a reason that I give myself to give myself a break from work to go do these things. I'm going to go fish a tournament. Another thing you get out of any time you fish one of these new fisheries or do something new, Susquehanna, I'll use that as an example, is to learn new skills. I am not a smallmouth fisherman. They're in the little creeks and whatnot that Jeremy and I grew up around, but for our entire lives, once we caught our first green fish between the two of us, it was to see which one of us could catch the next bigger green fish. And we've been doing that for 40 years. So for me, the Susquehanna was a reason yet again to go learn a new skill, and that was smallmouth fishing and river fishing in a way I've never been in or done before. Now, the river that runs through here is pretty slow and gentle and not crazy. Susquehanna, no, completely different. I learned on Wednesday in pre-fishing below the dam where all the big giants are, where the event was happening, was skinny water filled with rocks, which is what you want. Little grass islands, beautiful flowing water. You guys know I've worked for the last 2 years now, losing 70 pounds with another 70 probably to go. I won't say I was scared of being in that water, but I was unprepared. And, I've heard of, somebody or two dumping their kayak and losing a bunch of gear and stuff like that. But I fished down there the first day and it was like, that's not really for me, and the current was something, it was something else. So I ended up fishing above the dam because it was more like lake fishing, um, more suited to kind of what I'm used to and stuff like that. So um yeah, it was interesting, but obviously I took myself kind of out of the competition because I noticed me and most of the, I'll say older folk, many older folk, and there was a lot of older guys that were still down below the dam, but if you've got experience, you know that. But again, it was, about learning new skills. And I did that. I came home with a lot more knowledge than I left with, and I have a different game plan for the next time I'm there. And that ties really into another reason to fish these tournaments is making new friends. And to reference the Susky, I met Brian, and he's been watching the channel, Freedom Squad member, has family members that were military, loves everything that we do, but we wanted to hook up and fish, being two Freedom Squad veterans, and he's from Pennsylvania, and he kind of showed me, where he likes to fish above the dam. And when we went out Thursday, we were smoking them. I mean, we were on fish all day. Unfortunately, it rained Thursday night up river, and so we basically took Friday off to kind of rest and recoup and be ready for Saturday. And then when we went and fished Saturday, water was completely different. It stained up like crazy. Fish were shut down for the most part. The guys that went way, way, way north above where it had rained still had their clear water. And the guys down below, the cloud basically hadn't got to yet, the stain and all that. It increased the current, but it didn't, push the stain down on them yet. So we both struggled finding what we had found in pre-fishing on both Saturday and Sunday. I mean, we both finished in the 200s, out of 224, whatever. But I'll tell you what we did do. We had a blast. Spent 3 days with Brian up there. I mean, just chit-chatting on the water, fishing, fellowshipping, and having a good time. It's one thing to talk to people online and the internet and whatnot, but when you get together and do things, you make new friends for life, and we had an absolute blast. And we caught some fish during the tournament, but it was it was a struggle. But we fished a Bassmaster event and we enjoyed the heck out of it. So there's always that, you know. And to follow that up, I fished a another tournament this past Sunday, thinking, man, I fished this river 3 weeks ago and I actually smoked them. I was feeling good. So I'm tying on my chartreuse and white spinner bait. I'm gonna tie on a whopper plopper. I'm gonna tie on a Senko. I'm gonna go smack these fish just like I did 3 weeks at the Susky. I'm gonna get my limit and I'm gonna feel good. Well, it's not how it turned out. It kind of turned out like the Susky. I just couldn't. I caught dinks. I caught rock bass. I caught a 6-inch largemouth. I caught like an 8-inch smallmouth, which there was 12-inch minimum because it was a IKA Indiana Kayak Anglers tournament. But again, every time you think you got it figured out, the fish are like, psych, sucker. But what I did do, knowing that I was going to go do this, is I came up with this ingenious idea. I'm going to park my truck at the Broad Ripple boat ramp, and I'm going to put in 10 miles upriver. Well, Gramps, how would you leave your truck and get your trailer? My son lives up on the river up there now, 2 miles from the ramp that I put in at. So what we did was we dropped my truck off, hooked my trailer up to his truck, spent the night at his house, slept in, got on the water. He took my trailer, drove it down to the Broad Ripple boat ramp, hooked it up to my truck, locked it on there, and went home and went back to bed. That gave me all day to float 10 miles and fish all the way down with the river with no hurry and no worries. And it was an awesome day, especially after the tournament was over at 2:45. Because I launched at 6:30, lines in was 6:45, lines out at 2:45, and I caught my biggest smallie of the year at 3:15. But that being said, when I was loading up at the boat ramp, I met Marv. Marv's another grubby member, lives up north, likes to fish for smallies, and he's also known for painting. Let me get this in here. Painting crankbaits. And I was like, dude, I don't really fish for smallies that much. And he's like, I got the juice for you. And so he gave me this crankbait before the derb started. And I bet we sat there. I know we sat there and talked until we should have been launched and on the water heading to our spots. But I bet we talked 30 minutes before the tournament even started and got to know each other. He had seen me on the Grubby Live and seen my channel before. And we just sit there. I met a new friend. Had a great conversation. He's a guy a little bit older than I am. Awesome time. And again, that's why I like fishing these tournaments. Every time I go fish a tournament, be it local, regional, or even national, I meet somebody new. Susquehanna, I got to meet in person, Michael and other guys that have they fish these circuits. They're the big name dudes, but they've still seen me on YouTube and stuff like that too. And wanted to come up and say, hey, thank me for promoting the sport in my little way, in my little space. And and they know I'm a fan of what they do, because these guys that win their state championships and basically drop 100 and some odd inches every week, it's pretty amazing. But it's cool, and that's another reason why I fish these tournaments. You meet other people that you otherwise wouldn't meet. I bet in the state of Indiana, outside of Jeremy, Matt, and Bobby, and a few others that have seen my channel, most of the guys that are tournament anglers, um, there's probably 50 or 70 or 80 folks, men, women, across the board, that I never would have met if it weren't for a SIAC event, a Grubby event, or KBF, or one of these IKA, insert your club name here. You wouldn't meet them if you weren't in a place where they were at the same time you were. And I could probably list off, 80 people in the last 2 years that I've met, some of the most awesome kayak anglers. They all share the same passion we do. Some of them are hammers. Some of them are just like me. We go fish and donate and have a good time. But that's what I love about this sport. It's just the meeting new people. I mean, Jermaine said it best. Meeting people is the best. And everybody who has been to the Knucklehead Hero Cup last year, it's the same thing. It's just you get everybody together. People maybe online talking on Facebook or whatever in the comments in various people's live streams. But when you put yourself in a place where you get to actually meet them in person, yeah. And as Jermaine said, put the biggest smile on his face. If you haven't met Jermaine, he has a big, wonderful, joyous smile that if you're having a shitty day, just his smile alone will brighten up your day. 100% guaranteed. Love that dude. But that's another great thing about fishing these tournaments. So it doesn't always have to be about the money, the fame, doing whatever. It's the people, man. It's the people that's why I love kayak bass anglers, especially. We'll share baits, techniques, places, spots. I used to get it from people who fish local tournaments here, and I actually ran into this again recently. And it's like, dude, you're going to all these places where we fish these tournaments and you're posting videos on how you catch fish. Aren't you afraid of how that's going to impact your tournament? Number one, I'm not going to win regardless. There's always some dude who already knows or grew up, fishing these areas. If in my sole purpose, and I'm going to tie that into, because that happened down in Patoka, a couple years ago when I was showing, and then we had like one of our whatevers there. And when we had the Grubby Championship there was like six, seven trucks in the little bridge I was parked at, and two of them flat out told me, "I'm only here because I saw your video catching fish right there." I welcome, dude. If one of us catches them, so much for the be. And if you're a hammer and you watched one of my piddly little videos, but I helped you catch a fish, I know that. You know that. The world doesn't have to know that. But my goal again with sharing all of this content and information is just take what little bit I might know, or the luck I might get catching a bigger fish. And if I put you in a spot to catch a fish, whether you live near me or you learn something from watching one of our videos, so be it. That's the cool thing about Hero Cup. You get to watch other people. If Antoine's filming, or Alex on the Waters live, or Matt's live on Twitch, you can kind of look and see what people are doing to kind of help, other people, especially if they're newer to either kayak fishing or fishing in general. But that's one of the cool things about it. And to go along with that, after you meet these people, the tournaments are yet again ways to reunite with these folks going on. We're not giving up the juice on your lake yet. Because Glenn already gave it all up anyway. We just learned from it. I was actually on the phone with him earlier and was like, we took your juice video and figured it out, but you still got to beat the man. So yeah, Jeremy, if you didn't know, Glenn's in the derb on Sunday, so got our work cut out for us. But that's the other thing about these tournaments. It's also a great way and reason to get back together and reunite with these friends and hang out at your B&Bs. Matt brings out his smoker and brings cigars or maybe a little adult beverages, wine coolers in my case. And fellowship and have a good time. And, then other people can meet because a lot of people bring friends and you make all new friends because, you've got a circle and you're growing that circle each time. As Chad says, each one reach one. And so as we do that, we grow our circle and it makes it really nice. Yeah, like Brian said, I mean, he showed me what he had above the dam, and at least it kept us from getting skunked because that's probably what would happen to me for sure. Yeah, Glenn's fishing again, sweet. Yeah, he's trying to work some back in as he's going through his stuff, working with the new sheriff's department, and he's also trying to work on qualifying for the national championship again. Um, but outside of the fellowship, you have like when everybody gets together after they get off the water, like Kayak this weekend after our tournament on Sunday, they're going to have hot dogs and an in-person trophy presentation. And some of the groups do that, some of them don't. It'll be cool. And again, if you're in the area, come fish the Bogs event at Kayak. Just come have fun, and you never know. You might catch one of them 20s that Jeremy and I managed to pull out this year. There's some big donks in there, and we're still figuring that place out, so it'll be fun. Another reason I like to fish these tournaments on whatever level, especially the national level, you get to see your favorite pros if you're a fan of stuff like that and, catch up with them. Every time I go to one of these events, I got to, I sat there and talked to Josh Shrenko, who won't call himself a pro, but he is the host of Smalley Talk podcast, runs the Achigan brand for Smallies, the brand of smallmouth bass. And he won the Susquehanna last year. So no matter what he says, he's a pro because he is a Bassmaster champion. There's only so many people that can call themselves that. I did an interview with Christine Fisher, talked to Drew Gregory at a distance because poor dude was recovering from being sick, and everybody who went to iCovid, I think, came home with it. So, but Drew went again and smashed him again. Always, I ran into Russ Snyder's at the boat ramp. So I kind of felt like, on my practice day, I was in the right place because there's Russ Snyder's. He's always in the money. And yeah, he was again. But it's cool because, you don't have to be one of those guys that are fanboying or fangirling over all these pros like we did for Liz with her customized shout out. But yeah, I got to meet Michael Iconelli and his son and talk to them for like 10 minutes, and then had him shoot a video with me. And regardless of what you think, Mike is one that my son is a fan of because when John Michael was little, Ike had those rods and reels going Ike for kids. And so John Michael's always been a fan. Even though I got him a customized shout out, I didn't get a hat signed because didn't carry a Sharpie with me. But I get a feeling I'll run into Ike again because you know it was a good time. But it was funny. It was fun talking to him and his son. And I love the fact that he's got Vegas out with him fishing. Um, the kid is going to probably be a pretty good stick because he's being raised by somebody who knows what he's doing, and he's equipped with a lot of really, really good gear. But hey, good on him. That's it. That's the end result of Mike's work through the years being Ike. You know what I'm saying? But I also love, who else did I get to talk to? When you see guys like Guillermo and Eric Siddiqui and some of the lower key guys who don't do a lot of YouTube and stuff, they just show up and, Ewing Minor and his brother who just smashed them. Ewing just won 2 tournaments in a row. He wins the Bassmaster and then he turns around and goes to the Hobie BOS and wins that one. And that was cool. I mean, he doesn't know my name yet, but whatever. I've met enough of them. It's cool to catch up and talk to these folks who travel and do this. Travel and do this for a full time job, but I like going and covering the events to promote it to other people to let them know, hey, if my sucky fishing performance, old whatever, can get out and go do these things, so can you. Just to be there is pretty cool. And like I said, every time you cast a line, you never know when that big PB is going to bite it. So, more time on the water, the better. But I will say this, I learned so much between the Susquehanna and then going up and get my ass kicked on the river this last weekend, but kind of figured out a little something, a little nugget. And I'll even share this. Apparently, with smallmouths, if they're not hitting the, and you can watch all the Jeff Little, Josh Shrenko, you know, big guys who know how to catch smallies. If they're not hitting the whopper plopper, a wacky rig, a jackhammer, a fluke, you got to go small. And I learned that from Bobby. You got to go small, small baits, because he said something about that, and I threw a tiny little Ned and smacked a big one. I mean, and I was following a bass angler in a pro craft down the bank, and he was flipping jigs under docks. And I saw that, and I was like, well, I've been throwing a jig, but I'm not going to throw the same thing he did. And I was like, all right, Jeremy, I'm giving in. I'm tying on the littlest Ned. It's a 1.5-inch bait. Threw it on my Ned rod, using my good old Monster Bass Slunker Sticks Ned rig rod, and caught a giant freaking smallie. Apparently, one of the keys to smallmouth, if they don't want to chase, they don't want anything big, you got to match the hatch, and the hatch there is little craws or little hellgrammites, things like that. So if they don't want big at all, go small. And that kind of was proven to me when Merlin Hammer posted his 2 winning baits following the tournament. One was a very tiny finesse jig, which is what he threw at the Susquehanna and did well, and a little gizmo topwater. And I knew when because I talked to him and I interviewed him. You'll see this in the video later when I get caught up on editing. But I knew he was throwing that jig and he was fishing bridges just exactly like he told me what to do at on the Susky, so that I could catch a couple fish on day 2 and not get completely blown out of the water, because I actually caught 3. But we'll recap that in the video, because I put together a lot of footage to kind of capture the adventure, not my performance in the tournament, but my adventure of going to the tournament, the people that I met, the experiences I had. And man, it's life changing. And like I said, if I croak tomorrow, y'all be able to find me on the Bassmaster website for the rest of my, well, rest of the time. Because hey, I went and did it. So, sometimes, you gotta just swing the bat. Sometimes you strike out. Just to have the experience of being there. So, it was really cool. So I think that was most of, kind of what I had for the topic of why I go and do these. Um, Mostly, honestly, it's for like the reunions, especially when I get to see so many of you guys. That's why I love the Knucklehead tournament so much, because it's the reason for all of us to be able to get together. And I know not everybody can make it. I get that. I know you wish you could be there. And we still need to I still need to get with the Freedom Squad boys. It's been a crazy year this year. Matt's got a lot of, keep Matt in your prayers, him and his family. I've been busy with work, going nuts and whatnot. Jeremy's just been out smashing fish, but we still want to have a Freedom Squad get together at some point in time. And it may just be a matter of going to Knucklehead and kind of doing it then, and then planning something for the following year as well. But yeah, like Brian says, I mean, you definitely want to come back and fish the Susquehanna Bassmasters again. I halfway considered going to fish the Kayak Adventure Series that's going on this weekend, but that location is farther up north towards New York. And when I go back there, I want to go back to where me and Brian were. I want to fish down where Jeff Little films all of his videos. And I want to be in better shape. I want to be ready. I'm going to have a more river ready kayak. I've already determined that. And I'm going to have a lake kayak and a river kayak, because that type of river fishing is a little bit different. Not that I don't believe I could, haul my PWR around. It did really well. My rock guard did really well. But, if I got to wade fish and stand there tethered to a kayak, maybe something smaller, a little more maneuverable. Even though Mike did it with, Iaconelli did it with his Hobie PA-14, So, yeah, but I've got, I still want to keep learning the smallies, and that's kind of what I want to do. But yeah, I definitely want revenge on the Susquehanna. But I mean, I'm going to keep studying smallmouth bass, and I'm going to keep learning, and I'll put together some skills to go Jeremy catch him on a blue flag. Yeah, if Jeremy's going to catch another giant on a blue flag power worm, he'd go to Susquehanna and do it. He'd come out with like big bass with a 23 incher. Um, okay, before we end, I wanted to let me grab these because I meant to do it before we started. Yeah. Now that I'm back and kind of getting over these fatigue issues and starting to get things caught up, organized, get some videos filmed and out because, yeah, sure, we're going to keep bringing you guys the fishing adventures we go on. I still have reviews and things like that I want to do. I've got a bunch of different reels coming in from Luz, coming in from Shimano because everybody knows those are my favorite two brands as far as reels go. I generally do my Luz on the Lunker sticks. That's my river set. I'm actually going to go through and cover, and I just can't get over how quality the Lunker sticks are. I literally fished the Bassmaster event with a lot of Lunker sticks, and they're that good. I mean, the more I fish with them, and I know you guys hate or get tired of hearing this, but to me, they're if I had to choose now between, and I'm not bullshitting you, if I had to choose, if I was going to go with a brand between, say, like a Dobbins Champion XP level or the Monster Bass Lunker sticks made by Doomsday Tackle, every single one of those are Lunker sticks, all of them. My Loomis are over here in the corner, but everything I've done on the river in probably the last 3 tournaments were on the Monster Bass Lunker sticks because I honestly wanted to show that they are tournament worthy. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to give up my Loomis by any stretch of the imagination. I'm getting spoiled in my older age, and I've got a collection of the Loomis GLXs. But I'm telling you guys, for what you get for a couple of bucks for the Lunker sticks, and of course, Gramps 20 saves you 20% off of that. And I'm not getting kickbacks from that code. I told Rick, you guys send me a box, you let me play with different stuff. I'm not gonna be one of these guys that you pay to make videos selling your, whatever. I'll talk about the stuff that I like from Monster Bass. You keep me in hats and shirts in a box, I'm happy. Um, but I will tell you what, the value that you get out of those damn rods, for especially for those, and especially in this economy with the way things are, the guy that they work with to build those rods that used to work for Abu Garcia, they're phenomenal. I mean, Jeremy and I, I mean, I hope everybody enjoyed the Monster Bass Memories episode 1 where we went to Spring Mill, and we look forward to making more of those. But every one of those that we do are going to be with Monster Bass Lunker Sticks rods, just because we're going to show you what we think about them. I mean, and we've both collected quite a few of them now because they're at a price point. You guys know that Jeremy fishes on a budget. Um, it's just the way it is. He's on a fixed income, so he does what he can. He's got a couple Loomises for his, he's got to have it for his worm. Yeah, I get that. But for most everything else, from crankbaits, spinnerbaits, he'll tell you. I mean, I don't have to. You guys want to save some money on some rods? I'm telling you, it was crazy. All right. So what did I go get? Well, I got the newly designed. I kind of came up with these. I wanted a design that I thought would maybe look good on a hat. You know, I've been kind of jealous watching, you know, Wendell and Debo and Bearded Dad and everybody else coming out with their merch. And I've been promising you guys I would come up with something eventually. and I just didn't like the plain logo from the first hat that I did. But I wanted to come up with something that's a little bit, nicer, something that you guys might want for an actual sticker that might look good on a t-shirt. I got my world's greatest dad shirt on, but maybe something that looked good on the front of a shirt. I'm not that guy, but man, you guys beat me up about it all the time, and I keep saying I'm gonna get to it. I keep saying I'm gonna get to it. So I did come out with some new stickers. Um, I'll get this probably, where you can order it on a t-shirt if you want. I'll see if I can't find, some hats that I think a hat that's maybe two tone like this green and kind of tan kind of falls in there. I think it suits. I mean, you guys, what do you think of the stickers? It look pretty good. Um, I thought it was, a little bit better than what I had, but also wanted something that would go good on my Power 129 camo pattern. I think that's gonna look pretty sweet sitting there on the side of it. Um, but yeah, so I'll be making stickers available too. I'll probably sell them, a couple of bucks for 5 or something. Yeah, I'll come up with something just to recoup the cost of of getting them made. But you guys have asked me forever for t-shirts, for hats, stuff like that. And I've been disrespectful in the past by shutting off memberships, and that pissed a lot of people off, because I really didn't. I thought I wasn't giving you guys what I didn't think I was giving you what was the membership was worth. And I didn't look at it in the fact that you guys like the channel and that you're supporting the channel in a way. Um, I didn't see it like that. I mean, I'm just like you guys, and so I don't, I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not. I know I'm not Bill Dance and these guys, but I've had to grow this last year through enough messages that I get from other veterans or homeland heroes like cops and whatnot when they come and tell me that I made a difference in um what they do, and the 5 or 6 people who say I impacted their lives. And so that's why I have to keep doing this, and that's why I have to respect the fact that you guys support the channel in the way that you do. And it took me it's taken me a long time to accept that. And Sly Fox, Cairo, Jeremy, obviously, Graham and American Legacy, would preach to me. It's like, dude, you got a lot of people out there that love what you do. You gotta feed the beast, so to speak. And I get that from Tom at Lose, as well. He's like, you tell people the way you see it and don't sugarcoat it, don't bullshit them. So if I'm talking about something high end, I talk about what it is I like about it, and I don't. I mean, I've been honest in the fact that, like Shimano Metaniums and Bantams, they have that stupid thing on the thumb that just cuts me up. I'm never going to get a Shimano sponsorship by talking about shit like that irritates my fat little sausage thumbs when I'm trying to fish. But like the Corrado, the SLX, I don't have that problem. And that's why those are 2 of my absolute favorite reels, along with several reels that Lose makes, like the Lose Pro SP for skipping, jigs and whatnot, the Custom Pro Shallow Spool, Lose Hyper Mag. One of my all-time favorites are the KVD reel. For that price point, I think it's a very good value for what you get in a reel. So I'm looking forward to playing with. I've got a couple more Lose reels that came out this year that I'm playing with. Um, Actually lost a Mock Crush combo, not a combo, but the reel. I was actually swapping out reels, changing techniques on the water, and yeah, made a mistake and blink, there it went. But so I'm gonna have some reviews coming up on um hey, there's True Crime Talk with Frank Meister. My brother loves watching a lot of the true crime YouTube channels and stuff like that too. So you guys should go check them out. But again, I try to do reviews on stuff that I like. And I mean, and I get it too. I can't review everything because I don't like everything. Um, so I can only give you my honest opinion on something that I bought or I got for a review. And then if I didn't keep it, that's why I send it back and get something else. Some stuff I check out, like a library book from American Legacy, and a lot of things I buy. Um, for example, I have a outside of my normal, where is it? I don't even see it right now. Outside of my normal GLX or Lunker sticks, I've actually got a Fenwick World Class that I'm using for um, a jerkbait, rod, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And if you know Christine Fisher and, and Alex Rudd, they work with Berkeley, and they're that brand. Well, Fenwick is like the premier. So I grabbed one of those to play with, and that's pretty damn. It's a pretty damn good. But this guy used to design rods with G Loomis, so of course he's going to know what he's doing. But it's cool. But I appreciate the fact that you guys support what we do. You follow Jeremy, Matt, and I along. Andy wants to know if Debo was able to recover some of the combos he dumped in the water. According to Instagram earlier today, none of his gear was recovered. They took home 5 fish and had a fish fry, and that's pretty much how that day ended. That was the story I saw earlier this morning, and so that's the last I heard. So if anybody who doesn't know what's going on, Debo rolled out of his kayak this weekend. And we always tell everybody, make sure your shoulders stay within your handles. And he dropped his, he calls it an oar because it's Debo. He dropped his paddle. He'd been fishing in this heavy matted stuff. He was already done filming for the day. He was trying to head back. He got caught up in some area of the lake where the grass was super matted up, and he dropped his paddle in the water. And when he went to go reach for it, because he's in the mat and he wasn't as flexible, he overreached and rolled his kayak into the water. He said somehow, lucky enough, his tackle boxes stayed in the crate because he's got one of the old school crates that you kind of hand make, but his combos weren't, strapped down into the rod holders, like many of us with black packs have the little leash. And he rolled his kayak and he probably dumped, I think he said 5 or 6 combos in the water. And yeah, he was out trying to drag with him with his dad with a treble hook thing, and couldn't find any of them. Be a good idea to go back over through that again with a magnet, hoping that you can catch a guide or a reel or something. But yeah, that's unfortunate, but it happens to. Jeremy was with me when the first time I rolled my kayak, and I think I snapped three rods. I had put on these seat risers that I just thought I needed in my old town, and first time I got into it, they kind of slipped and tilted over, and that took the seat off the edge of the kayak, and of course rolled my 300 and whatever pound ass. We were still near the bank, which was good when it came to the recovery, but I still completely rolled that kayak. But unfortunately, I was so shallow that those rods went upside down and just snapped. And I was able to recover the reels, but I mean, I broke several rods, and we fished around the 6-7 foot of water trying to find as much stuff as we could there on the beach. But yeah, I mean, so it's not a matter with a lot of it. It's not a matter of if or when, but again, you got to know the rules. Sometimes if you get caught up in a wave. Jeremy coming into a situation where he got caught in a storm a couple weeks ago and tried to beat the storm back to the boat ramp. But this was one of those windstorms that was so fast, so powerful, it was throwing waves over the back of his boat, and he had to beach it and get to shore and drag it up and kind of take a little bit of cover. But his lesson learned was, if you know that a storm is coming in and you're caught, just get your ass up on the bank, because there's no place you want to be on the water if an actual storm hits. If you got to sit in somebody's beach house and they yell at you or whatever, hey, your safety and your life is more important first. You know what I'm saying? Jeremy will tell you that. I remember now that he said that. Jeremy, when we had the old Walmart sit-in kayaks, he would keep his rods like down in and whatnot. And he got caught in a situation where he rolled the kayak, and he got pinned inside the kayak because he had rods in there with him. And but for the grace of God, he was actually able to kind of swim over and somewhat out. I couldn't imagine if that happened to him now, because at least his arm was working back then. If he got caught in this, that situation now, be a whole different ball game. But now we have life jackets. We fish with PFDs always. We have sit on kayaks. So if you go out of the kayak, you are going to be okay. It will be your pride and equipment that get. But it's just one of those things. But that's and it's just like I don't know if anybody saw the Bassmaster event where the dude was riding his boat across the lake, hit something submerged, and damn near got thrown out of his boat like at 80 miles an hour. Tore up his lower unit, this and that, but he got lucky because the boat slammed on it, killed the motor right away, and it turned and it almost threw him out of the boat. He ended up slamming into the console, I think, but he was okay. But I mean, that's part of it. It's just like driving a motorcycle, a car, truck, whatever. Things happen all the time, but you need to make sure that you're exercising the most precaution. Debo is wearing his life jacket, his PFD, and Jeremy and I, like I said, we've both been in sketch situations here and there, but always have that Chinook on and zipped up, and just in case. It was just, it's just one of those things. Yeah, mainstream said he saw that and it was wild. But I mean, that's part of it too. But on the flip side of that, if you're careful, you do the right thing, pay attention, um, fish with a buddy as often as you can. And, that way you've always got a teammate or something there. But if you don't, Jeremy's actually gone and rescued people on the lake in his kayak. And then he's also was, somebody that he saw on bogs flipped a kayak, new angler, or just new kayaker, I think it was. And, boats and everybody else, they were able to come to the rescue. But we got to take care of each other on the water and around it too, because that's what our community does. We take care of each other. Um, I don't know. What do you guys think? Was that a decent impromptu live to fill in the week? I know I haven't been on live, but I love talking to you guys in the chat and even the comments afterward. Um, do me a favor though. We're gonna get Tom on from Lose and Strike King and Mock Baits. Hopefully next week, but if not, sometime in the near future. After this video ends, not here in this chat, but in the comments on this video on the live when it goes live, drop me any questions or comments you have for Tom about Lose, Strike King, Mock, the stuff they've got going out, any of the tournaments they do. What do you think about the new reels or baits or any bait suggestions? What kind of questions do you have for Tom that you would like me to ask when he comes on the live stream so he can kind of prepare and if anything grab some props and he's got some rods to show us, he's got some new reels to show us. They came out with all kinds of new stuff. Strike King's got a bunch of new baits. I've already got one question. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I think it's kind of cool and clever, and you'll be like, yeah, why didn't we think of that sooner? So I'm keeping that one for me to ask him. But again, after this video, drop a comment down below. What questions you have for Tom, Lose, Strike King, and things like that too. Is there a favorite pro? Maybe we should try to get him to join us with a live sometime. Maybe I can convince him to grab one of his dudes to come on. I know Liz is going Scott Martin, Scott Martin, Scott Martin. You never know. Maybe we can use that connect up with Tom to try to get some other big name bass pros or anglers to join us that are like some of the Lose and Strike King guys. I don't know, I just came off the top of my head, but sounds like a fun one. Other than that, it's 8 o'clock. We've been at it for an hour. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna keep fishing tournaments even though I sucked all the way to second place in the knucklehead last year. Oh, Liz, Jeremy, Antoine, Alex, our boards are at catch. They're being engraved. I know I've said that before, but we get the new color and all that stuff is going on. So I'll let you know. I just sent Duke again our addresses because Chad had sent it before. But I sent Duke all of our addresses and the stuff that we wanted to have him engraved with. So it's been a minute, but we get the new color of the OD and we'll be one of the first ones to have them. So thank you for supporting Team Gramps last year. Thank you for all of you who are fishing in the Team Gramps August edition and everybody who signs up. I'm doing it. This again is your carrot because again, it's for charity. And yeah, sure, the top 3 get these trophies, right? But if you want a chance, Jeremy, you can sign up too. I signed up. If you want a chance, everybody who signed up in August and fish, I don't care if you enter a fish or not, you're entered to win this brand new Shimano SLX 70. It's the new 70 MGL, if you guys are familiar with that. But this is the new 2024 70 MGL. This one is an 8 gear ratio. And I got this for like whopper ploppers, jerk baits. It's got that 70-inch size spool. If you fish the MGL 70 now, this one's even better. Oh, if you win, well, I mean, you don't have to pick the team. Obviously, you'll get a trophy. But everybody who participates, you don't even have to enter a single fish. If you go and you can sign up anytime in August, I don't care if you wait till the last day. If you watch this video the last day of August and you go sign up for Knucklehead Team Gramps in August, you're going to be entered to win this Shimano SLX 70 XG from American Legacy Fishing. There's only 13 people in there right now. $25 raffle ticket for a $100 reel. That is absolutely amazing. I've talked about the 70 MGL, the previous version of this. This was going to be my jerkbait reel and topwater reel, but I decided to keep what I had because I need more people to sign up for Team Gramps. So I'm going to give this away to one lucky person at the end of the month. I don't care if you enter a fish or not. If you're in Team Gramps for $25, that's basically your raffle ticket for this reel. And of course, I'll throw in some Team Gramps stickers and Freedom Squad stickers. That alone is worth it. So whether you can be there or not, whether you can fish or not, whether you're signed up for 2 others that you're trying to qualify for their team, it don't matter. If you don't enter, you can't win. See, I'm tying this back to the beginning of the video. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. All you got to do is sign up. Chad don't give a shit how many times you're signed up. You can only compete in 2. But you know what I'm saying? If you want a chance to win this reel, it's only $25. And we'll do the Wheel of Gramps at the end of August when we announce the winner of the last slot for the Hero Cup. But one of you, whether you fish or not, is going to win this reel. Yeah? Sound good? Go to Fishing Chaos, type in Gramps, sign up for the August Knucklehead. Just that easy. That's all you got to do. Best lottery tickets you can get. All right? And you're doing it for a good cause. We're raising money for Blazer 88. The people who donated some money to the veteran kayak build that I'm doing. And the kayak that was going to be on is going to change. But we'll talk about that in a different video. Yep. So, again, thank you everybody for following along. I'm going to keep fishing tournaments. I'm going to try to suck less, as Hellabass would say. But I'll tell you what, I enjoy every minute that I get to see you guys out wherever it is I'm at. I got another hug from Christine. It's for the Freedom Squad guys. Sorry, boys. So many awesome people. I love spending time with you guys. But most importantly, and I close the show the same way every time because I truly mean it. Because you can't make memories if you don't go anywhere to do it. Whether you go to Spring Mill and fish with your bro, whether you compete against him 2 weeks later in another tournament, get the feeling he's going to get revenge on my... He's going to get revenge because he won a tournament before. Then I went mano-y-mano. So, yeah. You have to stay tuned and see what the next derb is going to be. Don't know. Stay tuned. But, as always, get outside when you can. Make them memories. One cast at a time.